right now in the direction that Paycation is going, you want to get everybody on board. I don't know if you know it or not, but if a person is joining the organization right now, they get to actually do extreme travel for free. They do not have to pay for the upgrade. So this is a good time to get people started, even at the 149, and all they have to pay. No, they don't even have to pay the $50. So all I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, things are going in the direction that we want them to go. Things are coming around as far as our pay is concerned. The raises have been put forward. At the end of the day, many people are going to exceed abundantly. Just to give you a for instance, back in 2007, what $13,000 a month income would be in 2013 became literally about $20,000. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's the difference the income was making when I first got started versus now in 2016. And now, guess what? The income just got better to the point that you should be able to generate in your first month with Paycations almost literally close to 12 to $1,500 doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And that is getting a lot of people's attention. So today we have the plum pleasing pleasure of being trained by our very own, and this young lady, when I tell you she is on top of this travel side of the business, you can best believe she is on the top of the business. You in every aspect. From I've watched this young lady grow. Why? Because I've had the opportunity to literally watch her grow. I can tell you when her first 9 months, I like to call her my, I always say she is actually my test junkie. This woman literally takes 2, 3, 4 certifications. I'm talking about a day for her first 9 to 10 months of this business before she was even thinking about booking travel. Am I making sense to anybody right now? Like, a lot of us are constantly thinking about making money, making money, making money, but she did it the right way, where a lot of people would go to school first, learn the craft, and then make money. Like, some people will go to school for 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 months, right? About to learn their subject matter before you got in. Like, how many of you would want to be a doctor and want to make money first? So I'll say, okay, all right, let me give Preston the scalpel, right? Let me give Preston the scalpel. He has no training or nothing, and then we say, okay, we want you to go perform surgery because we know you want to make money. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think none of us would want to do that. And now you can actually see why she is doing the amount of things that she's doing. I encourage you, make sure you take some serious, copious notes, because this young lady knows what the heck she's doing when it comes to that travel side. So with that being said, without further ado, I like to give it up for my better half, yeah, my partner, yeah, my business partner, my travel trainer. Y'all give it up for Miss Deidre Lynn, National Executive, as well with Paycations Extreme. It is now your mic.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Oh. Can I hear you? Can I hear you?
Testing. Can you hear me? I'm good. Okay, okay. Good morning. How is everyone out there? Well, as you guys know, I am fresh back from Cancun. I am so excited. So excited. I had an awesome trip. I got to visit Charisma Resorts, and I will actually share a little bit about the trip with you towards the end of my presentation. But today, I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Is that already set up or I have to reset it up? Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna just jump right in because I don't want to be before you longer than I need to be. But today, what I'm talking about is basically, so you want to be a travel agent, and this is for more, it's more geared for to, I guess, the organization is growing by leaps and bounds. I think we have close to probably 17 or 1,800 people on our team. And with the rate that we're growing, it's always good to, sometimes go back and let's just go over some of the fundamentals. I'm gonna do this a little differently than I normally do. But the first thing that we want to talk about is just getting started on the travel side. We have to, the first thing that needs to be done, obviously, is completing that Extreme Travel University. I know that many of you, when you did this training, and for those of you who have been in the company for a while, you were comparing it to the old training, and folks was like, this is a definite improvement, which it was. And that module 3 is kind of long, and that gets you every time. But once you get through that, I thought that this training this time around was a lot more concise. And I felt like when I did the first training, let me ask you this for those of you who are out there. If you did both trainings, when you did the first training, did you feel like you were ready to book a trip? I know I didn't. I still was like kind of like a deer in the headlights, like, uh-oh, like what's next? But after I looked at this new training that Lori Spears so thoughtfully put together, I felt like, that better equipped agents to feel like that they could, book a trip or at least get a quote out when we first started that brand new training. So now that you've done your training, you've gotten your certificate, you are officially open for business. So you want to tell everybody you're open for business. You're not a secret agent, we always say, you're a travel agent. So on this particular screen, I also have a copy of my business card. That's one of the first things you want to do. You want to get your business cards made up. You want to post that certificate all over social media so everyone knows, in fact, that you are in business and you are a travel agent. But when you do that, responsibility comes with that because you just don't want to throw that up there, throw that certificate up there, and because it's going to create excitement out of your friends and family. They're going to be like, wow. And how many can attest or remember when they first put their certificate up online? Everybody called you or everybody hit you up on Facebook and was like, I got a trip. I need a trip. I got a friend. They need a trip, and you just was like, oh, my head's spinning. Like, what do I do first? What do I do first? And I find that with our travel group that we have, and if you're not a member of our Facebook travel group, it's called Vacation Travel Talk. I know Preston is on the call, or Mickey, or some of the guys that are listening. If you could type that in the chat box, because since I'm inside of the presentation, I can't see what's being typed. So if you could type that in the chat box so everyone knows what the name of the Facebook group is. I believe it's Vacation Travel Talk. This particular group is this is something that I didn't have when I started. And I love the group because of the simple fact that if you have a quick question, you could go in the group and you can have somebody to ask. And, just to give you a start. Now, I do caution that when you ask questions, sometimes, people get in the group and they just arbitrarily ask the question without doing your homework first. Always try to find your answers first, and we're going to get into how you do that as well. So let's talk about a little bit about business mindset. You're a travel agent now. You're open for business. The great thing about this particular job, being a home-based travel agent, You are earning while you're learning. You're earning while you're learning, and that's great. Um, Another key thing to always keep in mind is that when you're talking about travel from the agent aspect, not so much the recruiting aspect, but when, and maybe this is true for the recruiting side, but when you're talking about travel, you always want to lead with value versus what's cheapest. Or another way of putting that is leading with value versus price point. And I'll throw an example out there. Like, for instance, when I first started, Carnival used to have these really great travel agent prices. You could go on a cruise. How much was that for, Kim? Like 229, something really, really awesome. And sometimes what happened, and I was guilty of this myself. You know, you're talking to prospective people trying to get them in a business, and you're sharing your experience with them, and you're like, wow, you could go on a cruise for as low as 299 or 229 a person. And what happens is somebody will join the opportunity, and the first thing they're looking for is that trip or that cruise at 299. Now, what happened, I remember telling someone about this. I sent them the video, they signed up, and the first thing they wanted to do was go on a cruise. Well, when we went to go to Carnival to look to see if those cruises were still there, they weren't. And actually, they really haven't been as low as 2.99 cents. But because we threw that price point out there, that's what stuck in the person's head. So when you sell on value instead, and maybe you don't use an exact price point, maybe you say you are able to travel at prices 50 to 80% below retail, then you're not quoting a specific price and they're not looking for that specific price, and you don't come off like almost like a bait and switch, if that makes any sense. So when I talk to people, this is a question that Kemp asked, but I kind of put my own little twist on it. When I'm talking to a person about travel, and they're asking me, they find out you're a travel agent, they're all excited, they want to go on a trip, and I'll ask them, tell me about your favorite trip you went on. And they'll start telling you about a trip. Maybe it's Jamaica, maybe it's Mexico, maybe it's somewhere in Europe. And I'll always ask them, how much did you pay for that trip? And they're more than gladly will tell you, they'll tell you, oh, I went to Jamaica. We spent about maybe $1,200 a person, about $2,500. And, you know, you get them into talking about their trip, what was exciting about it. You can almost see their eyes glaze over. You can feel like you're there. And then when you tell them, what if I could show you a way to take that same trip and pay anywhere from 50 to 80% below retail? Would that be something that would interest you? Yes or no? You ask them that question, they're almost always going to say, well, yes, of course. Then you can send them that video and you can PS3 them into the opportunity. At the end of the day, if they don't want to join, you can always still continue with the quote process. So that's been something that helped me. That is actually what helped me hit national, because I was stuck at regional, stuck at about, I would say 6 or 7 people. I'd lose people, I'd gain people, but that was what got me over the top and got me to hit national. And that's how I stay there. Whenever I quote someone's trip, I always ask them that key question before I do anything else, so I can get a chance to show them the opportunity, because I would rather them book their own trip than for me to book their trip. So business protocols. Just a couple of things. We talk about this, and vacation travel is not a travel discounter, but what we do have, we have access. You have access when you join vacation. If you are a travel agent, then you have access to talk directly to the vendors. And I stress that enough, because a lot of times someone will call me or ask a question, or maybe they will pose a question in a travel group, And that's the best way would be to go directly to the vendor. If you have a question, let's say about Carnival Cruises, and instead of picking up the phone, or instead of picking up the phone and calling Preston and asking him a question about Carnival, or calling Kemp and asking him a question about Carnival, why don't you pick up the phone and call Carnival directly yourself? Because that's what you paid for. You paid for the ability to get that inside track. You paid for that access so you can talk to the vendors. If I want to know something about Kemp, I'm not going to go to Preston and say, "Hey, Preston, how come every time I call Kemp, X, Y, and Z, or what can you tell me about Kemp?" Not when I can pick up the phone and have access to Kemp and call Kemp directly and ask Kemp a question. So that's the same thing that you do with the vendors. Call the vendors directly. That's what you paid for the access for. Use your travel club to promote your business. We have the Vacation Platinum Travel Club. If you want to use that, you can use the member trips as well to promote your business. Please do not use a fam trip to promote your business, but let me give a caveat to that. When I say don't use it to promote the business, I mean as if, okay, I just went on this trip for $2.99 with Apple Vacations. It included the flight and the room, board, and all you can eat at a resort in Mexico. If you join me today, I'm gonna get you a $2.99 trip, and you use that to kind of entice or bring the person into the business. Now, the correct way to use the fam trip would be more to say, well, I just went on this trip. While I was there, I was able to sample the rooms. I was able to sample the food. I was able to go to the different properties, and we'll get into this. But and I was able to go. I was invited down, or I was able to go at a discount. Notice I'm not using a price, at a discount, because I am a travel agent. But just notice I'm not using the price, because we never want to, again, be guilty of enticing anybody. Promote your business to anyone. You can promote it anyone. And just be careful, when we say just not everywhere. Not everywhere or not every time is the ideal time for you to talk about your business. We are in a relationship building business. And sometimes you can see an opportunity, and if you use your better judgment, that might not be the time to talk about the business. It might just be the time to build the relationship. Not every time you bump into somebody, maybe at Walmart, or you're walking down the street, that it might not be the exact time to talk about the business, but it's always a great time to build the relationship. If, for example, if you're in the bank and standing in line, let's say there's a very long line, and when you get to the teller, that might not be the time to go into a whole bunch of detail about your business, what you do. Maybe that's just the day that you introduce yourself. You say something kind, say something sincere, and you can leave your card and just keep it moving. And next time you go, then you can talk a little bit more about your business and what it is that you do. Develop a business mindset. We are actually part of an $8 trillion industry. An $8 trillion industry. I can't say that enough. And it's growing so fast. There's enough out there in the travel industry for everybody. But what you want to do is you want to have that, keep your entrepreneur hat on. And I know that this is always a challenge for me, because my first passion is always to talk about travel, but I also have to remember that I'm doing this to make money. So you want to make sure that you keep your entrepreneur hat on and look for each and every opportunity to further your business in that particular area. Don't wait. Start earning today. So even if you're a little fearful, you haven't done a quote yet, and there are some of us who have done quotes, Don't wait. A lot of times we get caught up with the where do I go first? Which vendor do I use first? Let me go and ask for help, or let me go and ask a couple of other people which vendor they use. While you're doing that and spinning your wheels, that particular customer that came to you for the quote, they are actually doing their homework. I learned the hard way. The quicker you can get the quote out to a prospective client, the less likely they are to get on a computer and go to Expedia, or get on a computer and go to Cheap Tickets, or get in a computer and start doing their own homework. When you make somebody wait a day or two, or a week to give them a to give them a quote, what typically happens is you send the quote and they have gone into witness protection. You don't hear from them again. And then you find yourself chasing them around. So, like I said, don't wait. Try to get that quote out there as quickly as possible. And how do you do that? You do that by learning. You do that by going on the different vendors' websites and learning how to do the quotes. A basic quote, for a basic quote, honestly, shouldn't take you no more than 20-30 minutes. Some quotes only take me 5 or 10 minutes, but you want to get to the point where your turnaround time on a quote is very quick, because if you can send those quotes out really quick, then you can move on to the business of collecting the business. And again, earn while you learn. You're not in business until you have a client or a business partner. And just a moment of transparency for me, as Kemp alluded to when he introduced me, I did not, when I first started, I would probably say it was about 8 or 9 months until I got my first actual travel booking. Now, I had some quotes, but before I got my actual first booking, it was 8 or 9 months. So what did I do all that time? Every day, every time I had free time, I was doing a training, I was doing a certification, I was on somebody's webinar, or I was attending someone's live training. And that's another talk about the live trainings. Find out if you live in an area where live trainings are being held. I always encourage uh, agents to attend those live trainings. Register with vendors. And we just spoke about that. Register with vendors. VAX is always probably one of the first go-to places I like to suggest, because VAX, I liken them to a shopping mall. When you go into a mall, you have different stores under that one roof. You have your flagship stores or your anchor stores. Like when you go into VAX, you'll see FunJet, and FunJet is one of those flagship or one of those anchor vendors. That is probably one of the better known vendors in VAX. You have American Airline Vacations, you have MLT Vacations, you have gosh, it's quite an extensive list. But when you go into VAX and you do the training for VAX, that's where you're going to learn how to set up the quotes properly, do your sales flyers. You'll learn how to look up promotions before you suggest different destinations. Let's say if you have a couple that wants to go to Jamaica, you might want to go into VAX and look under the promotions tab and see which resorts in Jamaica might be having a promotion. They might be having a discount for your clients, or sometimes they may be having a booking incentive for you, the agent. And this is a good place to find this information on the promotions tab in VAX. Another vendor that that we used to talk about a lot, they seem to have kind of faded away a little bit, but they're still out there, is Hotel Rewards. HotelRewards.com. This is actually one of my favorites when I first started, and I still use them from time to time. What I like most about Hotel Rewards is that they pay the 10% commission. It comes directly to you, the agent. And the other thing is they pay very promptly. If you make a booking in the month of July and the person actually stays at that hotel in the month of July, you can look for that check no later than the end of August. And with some of the other vendors, you know that it could take anywhere from 60 to 90, even 120 to get paid. Hotel Rewards pays quite quickly. And Fairbus, they are actually a great vendor for international airfare. I like them because, well, not only do they do international airfare, they do domestic too. But what I like most about Fairbus is you can add commission to Fairbus. So this would be probably one of the few vendors or the few opportunities you'll be able to book an airline ticket per se. And you'll be able to tack on a couple of extra dollars in commission because Fairbuzz allows you to do that. Another point I want to talk about just quickly is register for your agent ID or your CLIA/Embark ID. Right now, the enrollment is actually frozen, and just kind of explain that process. The CLIA membership works on a calendar year basis. So that means it's going to go from the month of January through December. And when you sign up for that CLIA card, let's say if you sign up for it in the month of March or the month of April, then it's only going to be good from March through the end of December, that calendar year. So what CLIA tends to do every year around August, they usually around the end of August, they will close enrollment because it really isn't cost effective to sign up for a CLIA card in September or October, and then you have to turn around again that next January and sign up all over again. But the CLIA card is really important because that is what's going to show that you are a travel agent. That is an industry credential, and that is what's going to when you go to a hotel, if you say, well, I'm a travel agent, do you have any travel agent discounts? More than likely, they're going to ask to see some type of ID. And when you have that CLIA card, that actually cuts through all of the red tape. So if you don't have one, please look into getting one January when they reopen the enrollment. And not to mention, and don't wait till the last minute because sometimes I have been approached by agents, pretty much new agents. They want to plan a trip for their personal travel and they don't have this. This is such an important thing. This is such an important perk that we have being an agent. How do you gain vendor access? Well, because we now have XTU, the vendor list used to be located in the back office under the travel tab. It is now contained inside of Extreme University. So if you do not have your XTU certification, you will not have access to the vendor list because it's now inside of the Extreme Travel University, and you can find it there under the tools category right there. Qualifying your client. You always want to ask the basic questions. Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? Where do you want to stay? What do they want to do while you're there? How many adults? How many children? Sometimes I get so excited, I forget to ask all of these questions. You want to try, actually, there's a client profile form in the back office that you can use that will kind of help you remember to ask these questions, because what happens is then you start repeating yourself when you don't ask these questions and the clients think that you're not listening to them. So just try to be very organized and very methodical when you're dealing with your clients and write this information down. I have 2 huge binders that I keep all of my client profiles and information in. So, because when you start getting repeat clients and you're still asking them the same questions over and over again, it's really impressive if a client calls you and you could say, oh, I remember your birthday. Your birthday is X, Y, and Z. And I try to remember little bits of information about clients because that impresses them. They're like really impressed, like, wow, I didn't know that, she took that much time to remember some of my information. So that's a helpful hint there. Always find out with your client, if you can, what was their best vacation experience, what was their worst experience. If their worst experience ever was going to Cancun and the food was bad or whatever, that might not be the first place that you suggest for them. Okay, or if you know what their best vacation experience is, maybe that might be something you want to find out so you can replicate that. Ask them if they travel a lot. Build a relationship. You're always relationship building. First and foremost, as travel agents, we are researchers. Research is what we do. I do ads. Kemp and I do ads and Indeed, looking for new agents. And when I do the interviews, this is one of the first thing that I stress. If you're going to be a travel agent, you are basically going to be a researcher. And a lot of times, for example, the first thing you're thinking about, if someone comes to you with a trip, where do I get started? Or let's say, here's a good suggestion. I had a person come to me once. They said they wanted to go to Dominican Republic, and she came out flat out front and told me she was a beach snob. She loves the beach. The beach is a very important part of the experience. So knowing that, what I did was, even before I picked a vendor, I went on to Google, believe it or not, and I said, what are the 10 best beaches in Dominican Republic? And once I got the answer, then I kind of narrowed down the choices of where I was going to go with the particular resorts that I suggested to her. So Ask Google is a great place to start when you're doing your research for anybody's trip. The agent booking desk. This is another area you want to be familiar with, because if you're not booking your trips, then when the travel commission gets paid, they won't, Lori and the team at Extreme Travel will not know where to direct your commission to. And sometimes this could be a sore point, because you have agents saying that they haven't gotten paid for a trip, and then you find out you never put it on your booking desk. So always make sure you enter your information on your booking desk. Finding customers. You find customers when you give out your business cards, when you have travel parties, because even if somebody doesn't sign up, they might be prone to give you the business. So when you do a travel party, always make sure you capture an email or some type of contact information from everyone who's invited to the travel party. This is one of my favorites. Take a trip and invite people. Take a trip, plan your first group trip, plan a group cruise. People like to travel with people who are traveling and people who look like they're fun. Why don't you consider being a traveling travel agent? I get most of my referrals when I'm on a trip. When people see me on Facebook and they see that I'm on a trip, one of the very first questions I get, where were you at last week? I saw your pictures. I want to go there. So let people see you taking a trip and having fun. Utilize social media. We just spoke about that. Utilize your Facebook. Not only do I take advantage of my Facebook network, but when I book clients, I always ask permission to take advantage of their Facebook network. So, and I'll ask them, while you're on your trip, if you could, give a post or give me a shout out, so to speak, and let people know that I planned your trip. I've gotten probably about 4 or 5 referrals just in the last month for other customers that are traveling, and when they went to thank me, they was like, thank you, Deidre Lynn, for planning this beautiful trip to Punta Cana. I'm having the time of my life. The next thing I know, I'm getting inboxes from some of their friends saying, hey, I see Kim is on a trip. She said you were the person that booked her trip. Can you book one for me? That's how you get business. And order travel brochures. I order travel brochures. One of the first things I do when I go on a vendor's website is I find out where to go to order the travel brochures. I order them. When I get them, I label them and I carry them around in the car with me everywhere I go, because you never know who you're going to run into. And to be able to give them a travel brochure along with a business card, it looks very professional, and I can't stress how important that is. And of course, they're free. That's even better. So, why not leverage these free tools that the vendors provide? Marketing your business, advertise, advertise, advertise. You have social media. How many of you are really using or leveraging your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter, and these various mediums, even YouTube, Vimeo? That there is so much social media out there that you don't have to do all of them. Maybe you find one and just become really good at that. So again, Facebook and Instagram. We talked about Google Places, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is pretty good. I like LinkedIn because not only can you can find business-minded people there, probably to even join a business. YouTube, Twitter, Google Plus. I use Google Plus. Yelp is another one. You could use radio ads, flyers. One that I'm actually going to experiment with this upcoming month. How many of you, when you go out to dinner, you've gone to the restaurant and you see the little paper placemats that they place your dinner plates or your breakfast plates on, and they're full of advertisements? Well, I'm actually thinking about putting an ad on one of those. While you're sitting there ordering your food, I always find myself reading those placemats and looking at those ads. So that's actually another avenue that I'm going to look into. What would you say would be the number one way to market your business? Use the product. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to show you guys a couple of my videos of the trip that I took to Charisma. And again, this trip was just, wow, I can't say enough things about this trip. I was so impressed by this particular vendor. This vendor, I actually went onto the Charisma vendor's website. This is how I found the trip, and they had a tab that said FAMs. This one was what was called a wedding FAM, and then they have just a regular FAM trip. So on this trip, they invited down 30 agents from all over the country, and what they did was they showed us at each resort all of the places where you could get married. They showed us all of the different wedding cakes, all of the different wedding menus. We sampled the food. When I tell you we sampled the food, we sampled the food. And Charisma is known for being a gourmet inclusive resort. So the food was just like, we're talking 5-star all the way. Although I wouldn't be lying if I didn't tell you I was looking for some Doritos at the end of the night, because I just needed to have some good old fashioned joke food. But the trip, I'm going to show you the videos, and I'm going to just let the videos speak for themselves. So let's show this first one. I hope that you'll be able to see it. Okay, so I hope you guys were able to see that one. The next one was about the famous over the water bungalows that everyone has been anticipating. These are Charisma's answer, so to speak, to famous over water bungalows that maybe you've heard of in Maldives or Fiji and other exotic places like Bora Bora. Sandals, I believe, also has, well, I know they do also have over the water bungalows, and these are even a little bit closer because they're in Riviera Maya in Mexico. So I'm going to show you what these look like as well. So that was pretty much what I spent my time doing the last the last week and a half while I was in Riviera Maya. So I posted those pictures, I posted the videos, and I mean the entire time I was gone, I think I did book one trip while I was down there. I typically book a trip while I'm on a trip, which is just amazing to me. Um, it was incredible because to see that you could travel and you could do that level of travel, and the only thing that I paid for that trip there, it was 6 days 5 nights, and the only thing I paid for was my airfare, and I actually got a discount on the airfare. I got agent airfare from Apple Vacations, and so when I tell you I paid $249 for a round trip ticket from from Philadelphia to Cancun, and once I got to the airport, as you saw in one of the videos, I had a private transfer. The El Dorado Royale, they pretty much came and picked me up. As soon as I walked out, it was kind of funny because I was a little nervous because going through the airport in Cancun can be a little sketchy because you always are approached by like 100 people wanting you to go to timeshare presentations. So I'm just saying to myself, like, oh boy, I gotta, fight my way through these people. And when I walked outside, the guy actually was holding the sign with my name, and I was like, thank goodness. So that particular trip was awesome. It was like a first class trip all the way. I will always recommend Charisma Resorts to a particular client. Why? Because I stayed there and I experienced the product. And that is what the fan trip is for. You go, they show you everything that they do. They show you how they will treat your clients when they come down there. And likewise, when you come home, you're going to feel comfortable with referring that particular resort. Another way that I market myself is through the wrapped car. My car has been wrapped by Hard Rock Resorts. They actually wrapped it for free. It's been wrapped for over a year now. And I got it wrapped last Labor Day. And I think the car was parked outside the house for maybe 12 hours overnight. We woke up the next morning. There were Post-its on the windshield of people wanting me to call them to book trips. Every time I'm in the car, I'm either giving out a brochure or I'm giving out a business card. So this actually is a very, very effective way to market your business. And not to mention, if you're stuck in traffic, people are they're sitting behind me looking at I'm into travel. They have an 800 number. And in this day and age, I also ask, people will say, do you have a business card? I just tell them to take their cell phone and take a picture of the card order. So it's, there's always just, be creative with your marketing. Network with other businesses. This is actually good too. Find out the next local event and network. You can Google that, for example. You can Google networking events in your town or where you live. Plug into your community, to your city officials, schools, cleaners, grocery stores, churches, Better Business Bureau, Chamber of Commerce. I know quite a few people that are in our morning personal development class. They plug into Toastmasters. That's also actual good group of people to become affiliated with. Or another way, and I've done this too, and I've seen people, other folks and creators of wealth do vendor shows. I've done quite a few bridal shows. The last show I did for TD Bank, and they actually invite in vendors twice a year to talk to the employees, and they let us set up in one of their buildings, and the employees come over on their on their break times and their lunch breaks, and you get a chance to meet and network with people that way as well. Referrals and returning clients. This is always important. I go through my booking desk once a year. I send out thank you cards to people who I formerly booked travel for. I like to give gifts when they do travel. Sometimes I'll meet them the night before, since I live close to the airport, and I'll send them a little care package. Maybe it's a little tote bag that I got from one of the vendor shows with pens or pencils or keychains, different things. Sometimes I'll give them little TSA containers, sunblock, a waterproof camera, just little different, or a thank you note, just, for giving me the business and referring me to other people. I've even had some refrigerator magnets made up. I believe I did that through Vistaprint. If you ever have any questions, again, we do have the Facebook group. I encourage you to leverage the knowledge of the other agents in the Facebook group. You can always open a support ticket, or you can always call the support team directly. And that is the end of the training for the day, or at least the end of my presentation. So now that I can see the chat box, does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to ask me? Do I charge a booking fee? That is a very great question, Nina. Um, It depends. It depends. When I first started, I didn't. I was just so excited. Somebody was asking me about a trip. I didn't charge a booking fee, and I found myself doing all kinds of quotes. I remember what broke me out of that was I had one person, I think I was on like the sixth or seventh quote, and then I was like, look, this is wasting time. My time is important. So I do now what I'll do, I'll usually will give the first two quotes complimentary. If it starts to go into a third quote, then I will charge the booking fee. I will let them know that it's a fee for my research, for my time, and that it will be applied to their trip if they so choose to travel with me. So the qualifying questions, I believe somebody asked about the qualifying questions. Those are just the questions that you want to ask, the basic five, like you want to ask the person, okay, so where do you want to go? What do you want to do when you get there? When do you want to go? How many people are going? And what is your budget? What is your budget? Never forget that one. That's the biggest question there, because you can manage their expectations once you find out what that budget number is. If somebody tells you they want to take the wife and the kids to Disney for 6 days and 5 nights, and you ask them what the budget is, and they say for, I don't know, I'll say something ridiculous, for $600, then that's pretty much going to let you know right away, okay, I can't do that. Not, or you can let them know, I can't reasonably book that trip with that particular budget. It's going to cost a little bit more than that. Which link didn't work? Who put a link in the box? Oh, okay. Let's see. Uh, Check Charlene's question. I'm just trying to think. I thought that we use Extreme Tree CLIA number. Why do you need to register for additional CLIA number? You do use Extreme Travel's CLIA number. You're not registering for a CLIA number. You are registering for, you're actually signing up for a CLIA ID card. And that just identifies you as being a travel agent in the travel industry. When you book with hotelrewards.com, do you also post a trip to the booking desk? That's a good question, because that commission is coming directly to you. I would say no. And so that being the case, when you do book with hotelrewards.com, if you're doing a lot of booking with them, then that actually is not going. For those of you who are probably trying to earn an IATA card and you're trying to count that first $5,000 worth of commission, then booking with hotelrewards.com, that's not going to count towards that. When someone asks you for a price on a trip, do you ask them, do they want to pay wholesale or retail price? Yes, I do, Daryl. And if they say wholesale, then I will actually send them one of the video clips, so they, that introduce them to the opportunity, and hopefully they can join and book their own trip. How much for the CLIA card? The CLIA card was $49, and then it was an extra $10, I want to say, if you wanted to be listed on their website. John, when you were getting your certifications, were you specializing in one direction, or did you do all kinds of certifications? Initially, John, I actually did all kinds of certifications. Well, what I really did at first was I got certified with the places or with the hotels that I'd like to stay at. So I like to stay at Marriott, got certified with Marriott. I like to stay at the Sheraton and the Westin. I got certified with Starwood Properties. I also like to stay with Holiday Inn or Crown Plaza. So I certified with those properties. So when I booked my own personal travel, that I knew how to do that. That was a great question. Yes, you do have to get a clear card every year. Eileen, could you tell me what Charlene's question is again? Because, okay. How do I arrange my table for vendor shows? That's an excellent question, Darian. I have actually, I invested in creating a banner. I have a logo, and I created a banner with staples, probably. I think I paid 20 bucks for it. I have, I order the free brochures that I spoke of from different vendors. I put that information on the table. I actually have a sign-in sheet for anyone who visits the table where they will give me their name, email, address, and a phone number. And to ensure that I get the proper contact information, I'll usually raffle off a 3-day, 2-night certificate. So if they know that they're going to win something, or if they think they're going to win something, they're more prone to give you the correct contact info. When I did decide to specialize, I kind of, I'm specializing, I guess, now in cruising because I'm doing my certification with CLIA. And that kind of came about because I was actually afraid of cruising. I hadn't cruised, and I was afraid of quoting a cruise because it looked like it was very complicated. But then I spent probably the last 5 or 6 months doing all of the online trainings and learning everything I could about cruising. Now I'm an expert at it, and I'm actually on the verge of getting my accredited cruise counselor designation with CLIA. I've been working on that all year, and I'm real excited about that. And so, although I do book a lot of cruises and I'm a specialist there, I still book other travel. I still book land-based travel. I still book other things as well. Okay, that's a good question. How do you get paid on markups? When you mark up a trip, let's say I'll use Fairbus or FunJet. Let's say you're in VAX and you're doing a quote through FunJet. If you mark up the trip, you when you sell that trip, you're actually going to log that trip into your booking desk and you get paid with your commission. The markup is just going to be added on to the commission of the trip. And when you book it, enter that information on your booking desk, then you will get that done. Let's see. CLIA does have a lot of perks. Let's see. Okay. Can we arrange a monthly webinar like this one? Sure we can, Darian. I would love to do that. I've talked to the powers that be about that. Charlene, that depends on the vendor. I always tell people when I give them a quote that the price is not firm until they actually make a deposit. It can change at any time. So that is my generic question, my generic answer to any quote that I send out. Some vendors let you lock in the quote for 24 hours or 48 hours. I don't even say that. I just say the quote, the prices are subject to change. Okay. Nina, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question, but you can always reach out to me afterwards, which is the way that travel works overall. Okay, so I'm glad that I got a chance to answer. Oh, okay. I thought it was a question. Sorry about that. Okay, so yes, this training was recorded, Linda. Yes, absolutely, Nina. So I'm glad that I got to answer some of your questions after the fact. I am going to post the recording as soon as I finish. And Mo, you're going to become a cruise specialist. If you are a friend of mine's on Facebook, why don't you send me an inbox and we can chat about that a little bit if you'd like. And I'm going to say that I had an awesome time coming before you guys today. And I will post the training inside of Creators of Wealth, Alicia. So everyone have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you in Punta Cana next week. I am so excited. And for those of you that I don't see in Punta Cana, maybe I'll see you on a cruise in October. So everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, Mr. Motivator, for letting me do some travel training today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Kemp. And I think he has a few things that he'd like to say before we go. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, wow, wow. First and foremost, let's give it up for the awesome Deidre Lynn for that excellent training that she has. I mean, literally, I might do some travel or something down there at a hurricane side. No, I'm just let's give it up for Miss Lynn, who has done a phenomenal job as always. Based on we got an echo. All right, let me turn her mic off. Mic check. Okay. All right. So we definitely want to thank her for that. For you guys that just paid attention, I mean, now you really see why they say paycations and how you get paid to travel. Am I making sense? Simply because when you go different places, you're becoming the commercial. And wouldn't that make sense? And for some of you, if you haven't been to her actual website so that you could actually see her all right, can y'all hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. So with that being said, you will actually see how you can actually use this travel. For those that are going to Punta Cana, make sure you pay attention to your leaders. There's going to be some things that we are going to do with you in Punta Cana. So we want all of the KOW to meet up somewhere in Punta Cana. And at the end of the day, I heard somebody mention, can we do at least one travel training out of the month? It sounds like a very good idea. In fact, I definitely, if she's up to that, which I'm sure she will be because she enjoys doing it, we will incorporate at least one travel training in every month that you guys can actually get travel training, because just based on what she shared, I think it would be very conducive for the organization ourselves. And it's just good to know that we have somebody that specializes and is willing to train as well as Miss Deidre Lynn. And we definitely, again, want to thank her for that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back here on next Saturday. No, we might not be. No, we won't be back until Tuesday. So, Wednesday. Oh, I'm sorry, next Wednesday. So we will really be checking into, but we're going to pretty much put something into place. Again, make sure you go on our Facebook, and if you can't reach us there, go to Creators of Wealth. Thank you so much. God bless. Take care. Take charge. And at the end of the day, hey, your business is only as good as you. Would you agree with that? So the better you become, the better your business will pay you each and every day. God bless. Take care and take charge.